It is now. Now, thank you. I would have walked around this whole time without it hitting record. I would have cried. Okay. I'm just starting here to get you guys started. Documents open, yes? Yep. I'm going to check in with every group, and I'm going 3, 2, 1. So you guys can start talking about the question if you have questions, or you guys can start looking at the poems, and then I'll address the whole group. Okay. So who wants to? Oh, I need the microphone for you guys. Who wants to read to me question 3? Read question 3 aloud for me.
Okay. The civil rights movement is a backdrop for Woodson's childhood. What role does history play in the book? What do we learn from this first-person perspective of American history?
Okay. So what it's asking you is, how did the civil rights affect Woodson? Okay. So you'll see your poems. I want you guys to skip the brainstorming part. There's part 4 poems. You guys are doing question 3. So if you want, you can get rid of those poems for question 1 and 2 if you want. You could delete those so you have some space.
Wait, no, I'm definitely not. Wait, I'm so confused now. Is this right?
You're going to skip brainstorming.
So
let's scroll down. And then we're not doing question 1, so you can get rid of these poems. Okay, maybe I can help them. Get rid of question 2. Get rid of those poems. And then these poems are going to help you answer that question in part 4. So Nolan, you're in Canvas, yeah?
I was, yeah, and then I went to here.
Okay. Does that? Why?
I don't know.
Okay. Are we doing narrative writing today, my dear?
Oh.
What day of the week it is? No, what day?
Thursday.
Okay.
227 and 228.
So I know.
Are we discussing today?
So this one.
Someone got angry.
Okay. Wow, look what I did here. No, you actually wait.
So you can delete those because that's kind of in your way. So like how Taylor has hers. Thank you, Taylor. Okay. 2. Who wants to read to me your question?
What message do you think Jacqueline Woodson wants to send to young people with the snob?
Okay, I like you guys' question. So what you guys have to do, you guys see that document? And I want you to skip the brainstorming. Go to the second part. Go to page 2. Thursday. Right, just like always. Do you guys see how I have all the poems?
Yeah.
You guys can get rid of those because like you can get rid of the question 1 poems. So for example, I could take Will's document and delete this. He doesn't need the question 1 poems. He only needs the question 2.
Wait, am I typing up here?
And then what that does is it makes it look like a more of a normal chart. Yep. So you only want the poems for question 2. Does that make sense? So you can, nope, we're skipping that part. So it's the part that I was on for you.
Now I put it right here.
Okay. First thing you need to do, Will, is you got to find evidence. Right? So you're answering from you.
Yeah.
You need to find evidence that answers that. So you guys are only looking at question 2 poems. Each of these poems, I think, teaches some kind of lesson. Your job is to kind of figure out what that means, put the text evidence in there. The explanation is you explaining what lesson was learned. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so question 2, all of these. So pick one, and if it doesn't make sense to you, pick a different one. Okay, you guys have one of the harder ones. You have my challenging one. You guys have questions on the question before I start talking? Okay. First thing I'm having some kids do is clean up that document because there's so many poems listed. You only need the question 1 poems. So you technically could erase those question 2 poems and those question 3 poems. And then it looks a little bit more like a regular chart, right? And it frees up some space. Guys. Mm-mm.
What happened to the book?
Will, I need you over here. Hey, Will, you gonna want my help?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Okay. So, do you, just in general, you guys, do you think that Woodson thinks that living in the past is a bad thing? Okay, I agree with you. If she did, she probably wouldn't write a whole entire book about her past events, okay? So I know that she thinks there's importance to it. Your job is to kind of think about, like, why? Why do you think these things, why do you think it's important that she remembers these events? You might have a different opinion, right? She brings up death and stuff, and that's a hard thing. And she has learned from it somehow, correct? Some people might think that's not a good thing, and it can also make us sad. So there is a little part for your agree or disagree if you want. That would be in your explanation. Does that make sense to you? So for do part 4, pick 1 poem. If the poem doesn't make sense or you can't find it, go to the next. Yeah, it's basically the poem. Yeah, we did it kind of like by poems, like, oh, there'd be a good answer in that. But you are not going to type the whole poem, like a little snippet.
So, for John,
That's fine.
I thought it impacted her for John's bargain store, I thought it impacted her because they wouldn't let black people eat at the lunch counters because of the civil rights movement. Um, did anyone else get anything for John's bargain store?
I am not on that.
No?
Okay.
Okay.
So Stella, what Stella did is what you guys should be doing. Stella found a poem. It is something that has to do with civil rights, right? She didn't go in the store. And then your explanation is how did it also affect her life in a bigger way?
I think it affected her because she never grew up knowing what it's like going into those stores and sitting down at the counters.
Okay, and then think bigger.
Mm,
If you're not allowed into a store, what kind of lessons can that teach you?
that you're not allowed to do much.
What is it like if you're not going to be allowed to do much?
You're very just I don't know the word staying. You can't go in certain places, so you're staying in one place the entire time. You're very known to one place, not allowed to go out and explore.
Mm-hmm. So let's pretend that you're going to go out in the pod.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to go to Mr. Schmidt's room because he's having a pizza party.
Yeah.
But there's a note on the door. And it says, Stella, not allowed. What would that make you feel like?
Excluded.
Okay. So when Jacqueline felt this way, because she did, agree? That would be weird because that's literally, they had signs that told them they weren't allowed, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you think that affected her as a person then?
She felt like she was excluded from a lot of things that normal or white people could do.
Okay. And I think that does something to somebody's personality. Do you agree? And kind of awareness of life. So that's your explanation. And that's why they get to set a little bit deeper.
Okay.
Makes sense?
On page 237, when they're on the bus, I feel like the civil rights impacted Woodson's childhood is because there's things that Jacqueline wants to do, but her family's holding her back and showing how I feel like it's showing how they're like not proud of who they are because they're like I don't know, I just feel like they're not proud of who they are because they're still like
Yeah.
how white folks look at them and how it just hurts them, so they're not proud of who they are.
Perfect. And you talked about how that affected them more than just the bus actual issue, right? Conflict. That's exactly what I'm looking for.
Okay.
Is there a strong line that you can add in? I know you have 237, you will have your book, but maybe one line that kind of sticks out that you could put for evidence.
Okay.
When you guys are doing your evidence, don't type the whole poem, right? You might want to choose a snippet, right? And you probably, so because remember, when people are listening to you tomorrow, they're not going to remember the poem offhand like you did.
Can we just like put the like name of the poem and then
A line, at least a line or two that you think kind of stand out the most.
and then we like add on our explanation.
Hi. Did you like this book?
No.
Cool. Okay. Did you learn about the civil rights through it?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's all your questions asking you, right? Because she grew up in this time period. So imagine that you are going to be in the future, you're going to be a writer, right? And then you write a memoir about what it was like living during COVID times. Because that's going to be strange for people to think about in the future. Wait, school got canceled in March and you guys didn't have school for the rest of the year? What? In the next year, you guys have purple gold days? That's going to be weird, right? And people are going to learn if you tell that story versus just reading about it. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
So she lived through the civil rights, right?
Yeah.
How did the civil rights affect her childhood? Just like COVID affected yours, right? So what you need to do is you need to look at these poems. You want to start with the first one?
Sure.
Okay, open up to that page. What page is that?
Music. It shows music.
227, Stevie and Me. What's this one about?
Them going to like the library and stuff.
Okay, they went to the library. Yes, and the coolest thing that happens is at the top of this page. These 3 lines. What do those lines talk about that she sees for the first time?
Like the book has like brown people in it and stuff.
Okay, because all the other picture books she has seen, it only has white people. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Would that be strange to only see representative of like you? And like not like if you had a different skin color, right? So this library moment affects her because she's like, we're actually being recognized and represented. So you could talk about her feeling representation if this was that poem. Or, do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So the question is how did the civil rights affect her? You can say there was a moment she saw the picture book and then how that affected her as a person.
God, my leg.
Yes?
Just finish that off.
What? That part 4. These are the smaller ones. I didn't want you looking in 70 pages. That'd be crazy, right? I know, Ms. Schmitz. What are you doing to us? I said my name. You guys have at least one piece of evidence over here? One for part 4? One for part 5? Okay, cool. You guys have questions? Any questions? You have questions? Yeah. If you want it, whatever you think supports it. You can agree with her. You can go agree not. You might think that you can do both. Especially like if Spencer says something and then you have like a, yeah, but I also thought this. That could also help add to that discussion. Hey, Will. Your question is about the lessons she is teaching us, right? Books teach us lessons. Oh, I see that you got something. Okay. Do you know what a good word is for never giving up?
What?
Do you know what a good word is for never giving up?
I think
At
it's
least
like,
one from part 4, at least one from part 5.
like pursuing. I
Yeah,
mean,
persistent. Yeah,
persistent. Yeah.
yeah, nice one. When I tell my family I want to be a writer, they smile. And say, we see you in the backyard with your writing. This shows that even after everything they've been through, she still wants to do something good for her
Oh, yeah.
family, right?
Yeah.
What is it that she wants to do that's good?
Right.
Right.
She
So
wants to
how would
write.
that be good for her family?
Because you can make money out of it.
Okay, add that. If you want to start to practice the correct way, you could, but otherwise, because right now, think of this as a note-taking device and not like a formal piece of writing. So what you just did here is you did that my explanation. And my explanation is your thinking. I'm just gonna put it over here. Okay. Now you have your look at your piece of evidence. Nice. Okay. Now in part 5, towards the end of the book, we only want to look at question 2. I'm gonna get rid of these extra questions. So there's 4 to look at. Pick one that you can tell a lesson that was taught. Okay.
The revolution.
Cool. Open up there. 308, 309. Yes, if you have extra time, get a third piece of evidence, at least 2. Yep, only for your group. Yep, 2 seconds, sell it. You don't want to handwrite, right, Will? Look at my little group. I feel like I'm shopping. I feel like I'm a cart girl, like at the golf course. You guys go. You know what I'm talking about? They like wheel around. I got like snacks for you guys. That's what I should do. I should give snacks for you guys and like give you a microphone, like you the snacks.
So for page or part 4 poems, you gave us those, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we have just 1 or 2 for this, right?
Mm-hmm.
For page 5, do we still use the same question and just use different like poems?
Exactly. So I found you guys are question 3.
Yeah.
So you can even delete this if you want.
Okay.
Those are going to bring you to the answer. Those are civil rights things are mentioned in there.
Oh.
And your goal is to get to this bigger meaning, you guys.
Okay.
All right. So on page 237, it shows civil rights impact because when they all got on the bus with Grandma wanted to sit in the back, not the front. She didn't want to start anything. Yes. It impacts Jacqueline because if they were going to sit in the front, she knows. Okay, cool. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to move your text evidence just to the left, so you know that you're not like looking for something, right? Like because you did the evidence. You paraphrased, right? That's your evidence. That's like book stuff, right? Here is from you.
Oh.
Right? So this is what definitely you're going to be seeing tomorrow.
Okay.
So it impacts Jacqueline because they're going to sit in the front, and why the people would give them dirty looks. How did that influence her as a person to know that? How do you think that made her feel?
I feel like it made her feel like kind of like down on herself because she's black and like everyone white people like get to do whatever they want and
Okay.
they have restrictions of what they can and cannot do.
Yes. And she's starting, I think at this age too, she's a little bit older than the last time with the bus, right?
Yeah.
And she understands the way it is, but I think she's definitely aware of it. So it's affecting her. She's starting to get angry. I agree with you. you got to give?
So I have to say.
How many pieces of evidence do you have? Okay, and what did Jacqueline think about this story? Because you summarized, I actually know this story really well. You summarized that story, right? That's the message of the story, but also how did Jacqueline feel about it? How did it make her feel? And you can use that to add. Don't erase what you have, just use that to add. Aiden gives you answers. It's a good thing Aiden's in this different group over here with us. Oh, no. ED, no. We'll talk later.
Science or do I have to write like the whole like thing? Because it's like a never ending.
No, because you can also paraphrase, right? Where you should be doing most of your writing is your explanation why you chose that one. Because you're going to also have the book in front of you. You can also paraphrase.
So like I can just do a comma and then.
Yep. You guys, don't be afraid to paraphrase also. I like that. Good perspective. I didn't even think of that. Where are you at, Spencer? Okay. So a mimosa tree. So yours is about living in the past, right?
Yeah.
Who's living in the past with the mimosa tree?
Grandma.
Okay. Is this good for her or bad for her?
Probably bad for
Okay. So when Jacqueline is watching her grandmother go through this, right? She chose to write about it, correct?
Yeah.
Do you think that Jacqueline is happy that grandma brought it? The tree? Like, is she happy watching her grandma watch the tree, or do you think she's thinking maybe grandma should have left it at home or not done that?
Thinks that she should have like not and probably left it at home.
Okay. So maybe you're saying that Jacqueline thinks that. I don't know, this one's hard. I know what you're talking about with the analysis, right? Why don't you think about it from grandma's point of view? If we do grandma's point of view, what do you think that she would say? And you can kind of switch it because our question is like, seen as some by people as a bad thing. How do you think Woodson would respond? Woodson might respond saying, "My grandma, for example, brought a tree, and that made her sad, but
It also reminded her of home.
Does that make sense?"
Yeah.
So Jacqueline thinks that remembering the past can be a good thing,
But also a bad thing.
but also a bad thing. For example, her grandmother, right?
Thank you.
Yep. Nolan, how many pieces of evidence do you have?
I have one, and I'm on the second one.
Okay.
I'm on what everybody knows. Why am I glitching so bad?
Sienna.
So I found one for part 5.
Oh, write it and then I'll check in with you when you finish your thoughts. I need to check in with Miss Sienna. What do you have so far?
I have one for part 4, but I don't have one for part 5 yet. I looked at this page and I looked at.
I need to lock
Okay, so
in.
that's for question number.
What? Yeah.
That's for question 1.
Oh, ready?
You're supposed to be looking at the poems for question number.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll just delete those.
Yep, I would delete them. Free up some space. Yes, Giselle.
So for the afro, can I say like, or like, whenever Robert comes over with an afro, she wants one too, or he wants one.
Jacqueline, she wants one.
Yeah, she wants one
Mhm.
because like she kind of like looks up to Robert and like
Mhm.
wants to like follow the trends.
Yep, which ones follow the trends and also a cultural trend.
Yeah, because like all of her friends do it and stuff.
And at this point, she's starting to be like the "I'm black and I'm proud,"
Yeah.
right?
That's what it is and say it loud. That's
Yes.
the one I'm doing.
Perfect. Cool. And yes, with the afro, absolutely. She looks up to him. She sees him as a role model. She wants to fit into that culture. She connects with him. Right? Because think about it. He's younger. Before she was hanging out with grandma and grandpa. Right? It's a total different era. Right, you guys? Raise your hand if you have one piece of evidence. You have one piece of evidence. Raise your hand. Oh, but we'll start with one. One. Raise your hand. If you have two, keep it up. Three. Three pieces of evidence for like your question. Part 4 and part 5. Yep. Okay, cool. I'm gonna give you guys some work time tomorrow. You can leave the desks how they are. You can put the books back in the book basket.